I want to make a video showcasing a budget-friendly blue and green deck that you can use for any walker that has that color combo available to them. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I've been tinkering with a few budget-friendly decks here and there. I just think it's a fun little challenge to try and figure out card synergies in the common uncommon class that can be viable for people just starting out, or maybe even just getting back into it after taking a break from the game for a while. So this should be a deck that you can build pretty quickly after getting into the game, because really it's just a lot of uncommons and commons that are from the recent the recent sets, the past three, and the only rare is an Origins rare, so a lot of you will probably have it. So the main thing that every player in Magic Puzzle Quest should have right now is Wizard class. Like, this should be a card you're chasing because it is a great card no matter what level of player you are. It's really good for an uncommon. It should be a mythic. It's that good. And the support can't be reinforced, so you can have many of these on the playing field at a time, and each one will trigger based on what triggers it. So the main thing that you really want to pay attention to with this card is the second ability, which is when you draw a card, if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, each spell in your hand gains 3 mana. So in this deck, you'll be drawing a decent amount of cards, and so you'll be getting a lot of mana to spells. So even though this is not a very spell-heavy deck, it won't matter because it'll still help a lot, because our other spells are very much card draw and gem conversion. Except for Mentor's Guidance here, but this is a very good card as well. It's only 8 mana, and draw 2 cards, and those 2 cards gain 4 mana. I'm not sure if we have a shaman in our deck here. Is this a shaman? Okay, yeah. So its secondary effect can trigger as well, but we really want that draw 2 cards and gain 4 mana from those cards. The awesome thing is that with Wizard class, if those 2 cards are spells, they gain they'll usually gain an extra 3 mana because it was drawn. So most of the time, that means these other cards will be able to be cast just because of casting Mentor's Guidance. And then Eureka Moment, draw 2 cards and convert 4 gems to your Planeswalker's colors. Even though it's a better card in mono color Planeswalker decks, it's still a pretty good card in dual color. And drawing 2 cards and a possible cascade is pretty good use of 8 mana. And then Field Trip is good because it's a really cheap card for being able to convert 6 gems to green. And the lesson cards that you get to use from it are Environmental Sciences and Fractal Summoning. And Fractal Summoning will create a fractal token, and depending on if you're using Kasmina, you can really pump that up pretty quickly. Or if not, I mean, it's still a decent little buff to your first creature. And then Environmental Sciences will help you fetch the next card in your hand, therefore keeping your hand a little bit full, which is something you really want in this deck. And then these 2 lands are really important for our deck, because when this support enters the board, either of these lands are the new uncommon lands from Midnight Hunt, and converting the gems is a nice little bonus, but it's not really why we want them in the deck. I mean, it really helps sometimes, but not always. But really, when this support enters the board, all cards in your hand gain 5 mana. So being that almost every card in this deck is under 10 mana, Most of the time, that means you'll be able to cast everything in your hand just by casting one or two of these. Our creatures will also help with all these gaining free mana engines. That it's basically what we're dealing with here. Just ways to get cheap mana quickly. So we got Prosperous Innkeeper, Trelocera, Moondancer, and Herald of the Pantheon. And these three cards all work pretty good in tandem. So let's start with Herald of the Pantheon. When this creature enters the battlefield, each support in your hand gains 3 mana. And when you cast a support, gain 3 life. And both of these abilities actually help with what we're doing in this deck, because the supports gaining 3 mana will help you cast both your land cards and wizard class. And wizard class is the thing we most want to prioritize in the beginning. And then this one, Trelocera, when you gain life, this creature gains +1. And pick one of the top 2 cards from your library, fetch that card. It gains 3 mana. So being able to pick from your library is pretty cool too. But fetching the card and getting it 3 mana can be really useful. And it actually helps us kind of loop in this deck. And then Prosperous Innkeeper. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a gold token. And, that's whatever. But actually, when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. So gaining that 2 life is what's going to trigger Trelocera, fetching that card. And you can also trigger Trelocera with Herald of the Pantheon, casting a support. So all 3 of these creatures, even though they're kind of small, I wish they were a little bit bigger in terms of power and toughness, but they're still nice creatures to buff up with wizard class in our fractals. And also Trelocera, this creature gets +1/+1, and that stays permanent. So when this deck really gets moving, you'll get it buffed up to like the 20s at least. So it's not terrible. And our other cards will be able to benefit from everything happening as well. So, all right, I think that's a pretty good explanation for how everything in this deck works. So let's go ahead and watch this deck do its thing. Okay, so we're using blue-green Nissa, which at one point was the best planeswalker in Standard, back when cycling was a thing. But now she's probably the worst blue-green walker in the game, because her abilities are basically useless most of the time. I mean, there are some cycle cards in Standard, but not nearly enough to build anything around. So cool. Wizard class, we can get things going here. Her first ability is the only one you could use with any regularity, and it's pretty mediocre. But, it's still okay, because it'll still give everything in our hand at least 1 mana, which is pretty useful sometimes. Got Field Trip. Environmental Sciences. So you can see the nice thing about this is that most things will help me gain life, which means I'll get to trigger that creature's ability. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. You have to go and do that. Well, this is Zendikar Expedition, so at least we'll get a lot of stuff back. But I do wish I had my wizard class. So, cool. At least we get to fetch one. So, supports will trigger that life gain and card fetch, as well as creatures hitting the board. So, that's what I really like about that, having those two cards on the field. We're having ourselves a pretty nice little loop going. Wizard class will also buff our creature. Okay, we're definitely in a phase where we can start to buff our first creature with fractal summoning. Let's not stop it yet. The thing about this deck is that a lot of things need to go right for it to loop. It's not like an easy looping deck, but it is pretty funny and cool when it actually does happen, because on the outset it doesn't seem like it'd be a deck that would loop very much, but when you actually look into all the cards, you're like, oh, okay, I could see how that might happen. It's just those uncommon lands in Wizard class are kind of ridiculous. Like, they are way better than they should be. So Innkeeper stopped stopped triggering a long time ago, but that's totally fine, because the Trilocera does not stop triggering. So there. That is one blue-green walker. And nice thing about her as a walker that is better than Cure are her mana gains on blue and green are a lot better. I mean, not a lot better, but that difference between +3 and +4 can mean a lot, especially when you're converting a lot of gems. Okay, now let's try this deck with Tamiyo and see what we get out of it. Mentor's Guidance, good card. Great. Dang it. Well, we could do this. I was hoping to save that ability, but when it's gotta go, it's gotta go. Save one up for when it enters, when it re-enters. It's good. We got our second ability ready. Let's see. So, Herald of the Pantheon. Want that first. Okay. See how this goes. Good. Got a wizard class. Okay. Have to disable. Put my power persuasion down and then go from there. Okay, good. Well, this match is over, so but yeah, you can see pretty fun little deck. Definitely has its weaknesses. It has no support destruction. It has, I mean, it's tough to get rid of them unless you use disable to get rid of their hexproof, but pretty good. Look at that master card. Okay. Okay, now same deck, but with my favorite blue-green planeswalker instead, Kasmina. And one of the great things about using Kasmina is that almost all of the cards in our hand can be played off of one blue or green match. And she's pretty much the only blue and green planeswalker that you can do that with, so that's really cool. I'm not too scared of that card, so I won't deal with it yet. I'll wait until they play something worse on me. Then also her abilities are all so great, so let's get a wizard class down if we can. That will help. Not a lot of great matches. Good. I was hoping that it would cascade into a blue match. I think I'll save up for a second ability, actually. Okay, now it's getting annoying, so we'll get that off the board. You're done. My lands haven't hit the board yet, so that's probably why this is going a little slower than I want it to, but as soon as I get to our second ability, I'll rip that out, and then that should get things moving quicker. Well, this is working too, so that's also nice. Field Trip, Rockfall Vale, Wizard class. Really not getting a ton of great luck with gem matches here, so we'll see how this goes. So that's really going to help to blow the board out. I mean, I have so many lands, I don't really need to cast most of them, but I do want to get them on the board, so. And let's see, what do I want out of here? Intro to Prophecy, maybe? Or Illuminate History. I'll grab Intro to Prophecy. Intro to Annihilation. Containment Breach. So yeah, that's another great thing about Kasmina is you get all these free cards in your deck or to add to your hand. And with these land supports, I'll probably get to cast most of them too. Get some card draw. I probably should have went with Herald of the Pantheon, but I didn't have very many supports in my hand anyway, so didn't matter that much. Okay, we can just get it now anyway. And why the hell not? Let's win with some style. Think we'll get a loop going here at the end. Okay. So that was a little bit slow to get going, but still won. Still with full life. And yeah. So in conclusion, is this the most powerful deck you can make? No. Is it even the most consistent deck? Maybe not. But it is a lot of fun and it can get things going. And so if you have just an okay collection, and you have at least Kasmina or whatever blue-green planeswalker you want to use, but I think Kasmina is the best for this. I think that you can get pretty far with it, especially I'm in platinum tier, of course, but if you're in the lower tiers, I think that you can probably get through a lot of PvP battles with it. So if you are a newer player and you somehow found this video and you can make this deck, let me know. I mean, it's all like really cheap commons and uncommons and just one origins rare. So it should be easy enough to build. All right. See you guys.